So, thank you all for joining us. My name is Carolyn Ray, and I'm the CEO of JourneyWoman. And we have a really fun session for you tonight that we hope will lift your spirits and make you not think of cold weather, but of exciting things. This is our new cultural immersion series. And the reason that we're doing this is because we did a survey back in the fall of last year. And one thing that came out loud and clear was that you wanted more opportunity to learn how to connect with different cultures and how to really travel as a traveler, not just a tourist. So this year we put together a series of webinars that will look at not just festivals, but culinary travel, UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We've got national parks. We've got a whole lineup of things that we'll be talking about throughout the year. And these are usually the last Tuesday of every month. And we'll have a panel of women coming in, both from our Women's Travel Directory, as well as some of our partners that we work with, and also just experts and fantastic women out there that have some expertise. So I'm going to get things started by sharing my screen, and hopefully this all comes together. I want to tell you a little bit about JourneyWoman before we get started. I know we often have new people on these calls. JourneyWoman is a 31-year-old travel website that started in 1994 by Evelyn Hannon, and I took it over in 2019. And you can see this photo here. This is Erica M. This is Evelyn's daughter. And we are holding an original JourneyWoman magazine that was printed back in the day. I know a lot of JourneyWoman readers still have theirs. And Evelyn's red boots, which are now in the Bata Shoe Museum, which is where we had a 30th anniversary celebration this year. Since Evelyn started JourneyWoman, we have expanded quite a bit. One of the most important things we do is we advocate for women over 50 in the travel industry. And we do that through research and different forums. We have two newsletters that we issue. One is a monthly newsletter. It'll be out next Friday. And then we're introducing a new newsletter shortly that will have practical travel tips and advice that's curated from our readers, both emails that I get and tips that people send in, as well as from our Facebook group. We also have hot flash emails, which are exclusive deals and discounts from our partners in our Women's Travel Directory, which is the only resource for women-friendly travel in the world. And actually, Evelyn started it as well many years ago, but now we've expanded it quite a bit to almost 200 companies. And we have webinars and events and a book club. So there's an awful lot going on at JourneyWoman, and I encourage you to get involved. Tonight, we are pleased to have three wonderful women with us. Dawn Booker from Pathlight Global, Anne Lung from Malaysia Tourism, and Kathy Wood from European Experiences. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them. Dawn is the owner. Well, actually, I may let them introduce themselves just to move things along a little bit. But where we want to start tonight, and I'm going to ask Dawn to set us up a little bit, is we want to talk a little bit about why cultural immersion is so important and why festivals are an important part of that. So Dawn is going to get us started on that.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so hi everyone and welcome. I'm excited about this. Excuse me for 1 minute. Hold on for. Okay, let me just text my 90-year-old mom, or she'll call me until I do. I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Dawn is actually one of our writers as well. So she writes about transformational travel, and you wear a few hats, don't you, Dawn?
Yes, I do. And one of them is caretaker for my mom. So I told you she would call until I get her.
I guess timing is everything, isn't it?
Yeah, my apologies. But she will call and then she'll have my daughter call. And so it's just best that I let her know that I'm online right now. So thank you much for your grace and your patience. I really appreciate it. Again, my name is Dawn Booker, and my business is Packlight Global Itineraries. And Packlight Global was created to create a space, a travel space for women of color over 40 to see the world. And it's a space of freedom and joy. And we've traveled globally to many spaces. And we started in 2018. And so we've been around for about 5 or 6 years. And so today I wanted to start our conversation by talking a little bit about culture and culture in global spaces, especially as we travel. I often get asked, where the name of my business, Packlight, came from. And it actually is not about your luggage, it's about your baggage and the things that you bring with you. So you can bring whatever you like on a Packlight trip or wherever you travel, but whatever you bring with you, you have to carry that. You have to be responsible for that. And so that's physical, what you bring, but also the ideas that you bring. So we trademarked as our tagline to travel fearless and pack light. And so travel fearless from my perspective means to travel knowledgeable, to travel prepared, and to understand the place in which you're going. And then to pack light, in addition to bringing what you can manage, we're encouraging folks to leave baggage of cultural stereotypes or ill-informed assumptions about what it's like in a place, or generalizations that you may read about in travel publications or in blogs or social media. I'm ready for the next slide. And so one of the best ways to prepare for a trip or an experience that challenges you to experience a new culture is to prepare by research. And I mean research that goes a little bit beyond a typical Google search. I mean to kind of understand the history of the place, understand, again, the stereotypes or media portrayals as opposed to the actual lived experience of the people who live there. And so you want to kind of acknowledge that you do have the privilege of seeing these mediated images, but just because we've seen something in news or documentary or in films or what have you, that doesn't necessarily mean that that is the lived experience. And so very often locally we believe that the more people have, the better off their community or country is. But very often, that perception is not necessarily the reality. So when you read articles that are written by local journalists, indigenous people, you very often get a more accurate impression of the local experience. Next slide. And so once you've arrived in a space, I always say just understand what the culture expects and do that. It's very simple. We always laugh when people say, "Well, the French can be rude." I lived in France for 2 years and I go there every year. I teach at the American University of Paris, and what I know for sure is that if you walk into a shop and you say bonjour, if you acknowledge the folks that you meet, if you don't necessarily have an expectation that they will speak the language that you speak, it makes for a little bit better experience. Next slide. And so, we often talk about, and I know that we've talked about it in this space as well before, the idea of decolonizing the travel experience. And that's especially important when you're heading into spaces and countries that have a colonial past or colonial history. So it's really important to understand that history as it relates to almost everything you'll encounter from a cultural perspective: food, religion, the language, their ideas around tourism and around welcoming guests or new people. And I always encourage people to to be respectful when it comes to photography and connecting with people. We were just in Senegal with my group over the Christmas holiday, and I very often had to remind my guests, would it be okay if somebody took a photo of your child without your permission and used it for whatever purpose? So as you travel, as you take photographs, as you see things that are interesting, just remember that you are visiting, you are a guest, and you can ask yourself, would this be okay at home? Would I be okay if someone did this when I was traveling or excuse me, when they were traveling to my home country or my home city? And so also another thing that I've found actually I found because I made the mistake multiple times. So the first time I went to Morocco, I was so pleased with myself because I was speaking French, and I spent a day with a Moroccan guide, and he asked me to please learn some phrases in Arabic. That the French language was not a Moroccan language, it is the language that is a residual language. And then I had the same experience in Senegal um, this past. This past holiday season when our group my intern created a list of phrases in Wolof, and so when we were able to say Jerjef or thank you in Wolof, it went a very long way with our guests and our guide to be able to acknowledge an indigenous language. Next slide. So I also implore you or challenge you to get comfortable with discomfort. Very often, as you travel, you are trying to find alignment and where we're alike, and trying to compare your experience abroad with some type of an experience at home. But I challenge you to actually see difference, to see race, to see gender, to see poverty, to see inequity, to see joy, because seeing someone actually validates who they are and what their experience is and the uniqueness of that experience. And so all experiences aren't necessarily meant to be to be had in the it sort of as a reflection of your home country. So seeing and being a little uncomfortable in spaces where you're not familiar or haven't encountered before allows you to really have a true and authentic experience of culture in that space. Next slide. And so again, I was it, this Christmas and the last four Christmases, Pack Light Global has taken a group to Africa to celebrate the festive season. And so we've gone to South Africa, Tanzania, to Senegal, and then last year to Ghana. And the festive season in African countries it's very much a local and sort of indigenous celebration. It's not something that you'll see in a lot of tour books or travel articles, but it's a time of the year when diasporic Africans come back home. And so there are a lot of local festivals that happen at that time. There are a lot of family related experiences, and, our groups, when we go to Africa during this time each year, we've just had some of the most amazing, really, truly authentic experiences. Even though we're having some tourist experiences, we're also being invited to all sorts of family and even religious and other types of activities and celebrations over the holiday. And so I also, next slide, I also compiled for you sort of a few festivals that are across the African continent, or at least the countries that I've visited so far. And I really think that festivals reveal and reflect the local culture. And so we're all going to kind of share a little bit about some festivals in the region that we are going to chat about. And so they celebrate tradition, and they allow you to understand more deeply the community and identity of the that is a part of the that are a part of the traditions, and gain spiritual insight, as well as the food. I mean, the food that I have had at the festivals that I've experienced, and the celebratory time that I experience in African countries at the end of the year and the beginning of the new year has really taught me a lot about sort of an authentic experience in that space. Next slide. And so some of the festivals that I wanted to highlight for you are, again, many are diasporic in that they invite Africans living outside of Africa to come back home or to come back to have certain experiences. And so the St. Louis Jazz Festival is not necessarily one of those, but St. Louis Jazz Festival in Senegal is truly a jazz festival that is a continent-wide celebrated festival. And I did want to add that the Global Junior Olympics for 2026 will be held in Senegal. So we were able to see many of the venues, and it's really going to be a phenomenal space for the Olympic Games to take place. And then also on the same schedule as the Venice Biennale is the Dakar Biennale. And it had just ended when we got there, but many of the Biennale installments were still in place. So one of the hotels we stayed in is Hotel Jolof. It's DJOLOFF. It was one of the most lovely boutique hotels I've stayed in. It had the feel of a riad, but it had a lot of the accoutrement of a West African home. And so, but it also still had an art installation there. So the next Biennale will be in 2026, and I intend to go back and participate with a group. In South Africa, there are a few festivals. One that I was there for is the New Year's Day festival in Cape Town. It's put on by the colored community, which, as we know, is a designation in South Africa. And the name of it's been called the the minstrel parade. It's evolved to the Cape Town New Year's Day parade, but that festival, it goes on for a full day on January 2nd in Cape Town, along Bree and Long Street. So it's amazing display of bands and all sorts of cultural experiences. In Ghana, the Panafest and the Yendi Festival are both diasporic festivals that are inviting folks to come back to Africa or come back to Ghana from various countries. Unification Day in Tanzania is a similar festival. And then in Morocco, both the Essorera Ganao World Music Festival and the Fez World and Sacred Music Festivals are festivals that attract folks from all over the world for world music. And the Ganao and World Music Festival in Essorera is a West African music based festival. I think that is my last slide.
It
Yes.
is. And I just wanted to thank you, Dawn. And I want to say part of what we're trying to do on this webinar is introduce you to some festivals you may never have heard of. So while we could talk about some of the better known festivals, we really want to introduce you to some new ideas and some new cultures. So I'm thrilled to have Anne here from Malaysia, and she's going to do just that and share some of the things going on in Malaysia.
Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to bring you to a bright, vibrant world of festival in Malaysia. Malaysia is a country celebrated for its multicultural heritage and year-round celebration. Why? It's because Malaysia is home to Asia's three main races, such as the Malays, Chinese, Indian, and over 20 indigenous groups. These multicultural foundations means that Malaysia's festivals are a blend of different traditions, religion, and practices. It also reflects the spirit of togetherness and mutual respect for different cultures. Malaysia has public holidays for all major festivals in respect of each and every one of Malaysia's major races, starting from Hari Raya, which marked the completion of 1 month fasting period of Ramadan. And the first day of lunar calendar, Chinese New Year, celebrated by Malaysian Chinese. And guess what? Chinese New Year is tomorrow. So if you want to celebrate with me, come and visit me. I'll make you yisang. It's a most of the Malaysian Chinese will make yisang. It's a tossing salad during the Chinese New Year. And the Hindu Festival of Lights, it's called Diwali in Canada, but in Malaysia, we call it Deepavali, celebrated by the Malaysian Hindus. Next. The festival that you can miss in Malaysia, that you might find it unique, it would be the Thaipusam Festival, or falls on February the 11th, 2025. Though it's in Batu Cave, Kuala Lumpur. This is a major Hindu festival celebrated by the Tamil community. Thaipusam features the devotees performing acts of devotion, including carrying a kavadi, which is like an offering, and piercing their body, which means when they poke the needle into the face or tongue or to the back during the devotion, and there won't be any bloods coming out. Like after the devotion, when they take it away, it's like nothing. So this colorful procession that transformed Batu Cave into a spiritual spectacular site on that particular day. That's why if you want to go to Batu Cave, go to around that time.
Whoops.
On February 11th. And the Rainforest World Music Festival falls on June the 20th to 22nd in Kuching, Sarawak. It is one of the world's top cultural music festivals, featuring performances by international and local musicians, interactive workshop, and a unique celebration of indigenous heritage. This festival showcases traditional and contemporary music inspired by the natural surrounding. And the last festival, it would be the Harvest Festival. We call it Pasta Kaamatan in Sabah and Sarawak. The Harvest Festival is celebrated by indigenous group community, particularly in Sabah by the Kadasan Dusun, and Sarawak for the Dayak. It marks the end of the rice harvest, where you will enjoy traditional music, dances, delicious local cuisine, ritual of Thanksgiving, and spirited competition like Unduk Nadau, which is a harvest queen pageant, are usually held around this time. This year, it will be in May 29th and 30th in Sabah. For June 1st and 2nd, for the Gawai, it will be in Sarawak. And the honorable mention, it will be definitely our National Day. We call it the Merdeka Day, the Independence Day, that will be celebrated by patriotic parade and fireworks showcasing the country history. For the Le Tour de Langkawi, that is would be in September 25th in Langkawi. This is a prestigious cycling race attracting athletes throughout the world, showcasing the stunning view of Langkawi coastline. And last, it would be the Georgetown Festival. This year, it will be in August 2nd to 10th in Georgetown, Penang. This is an annual art extravaganza festival in Penang, so featuring performances, exhibition, and workshop from world-class talent. Next. Malaysia festivals offer some things for everyone. Why I said like that is just imagine you stepping into a Malay wedding where the rhythm sounds of pompang fill the air, or watching the fireworks light up the sky during Chinese New Year. From the elegant ritual of Malay community to the colorful lion dances of the Chinese, and the rich players and rituals of the Indian Tamil community, each festival tells a story of tradition, history, and identity. What makes this celebration truly special is the opportunity to connect with the local people, taste the traditional cuisine, and partake in cultural rituals. During Hari Raya, if you join your Malay friends in a joyous feast, taste the rendang, ketupat, and the delicious Malaysia kueh. We call it's a Malaysia sweet. We call it kueh in Malaysia. In the heart of the harvest festival, you might find yourself dancing to the rhythm of the traditional beats with the indigenous communities. From a spiritual journey at Thaipusam to the global beats of the Rainforest World Music Festival, every festival offers an adventure and immerse yourself in the local way of life. Thank you very much. I hope this presentation has inspired you to experience the diverse of Malaysia has to offer.
Thank you so much, Anne. There is an article on our site about all the Malaysian festivals. There are so many of them and so many to choose from. And I hope that we'll send it out to all of you afterwards to take a look through. But as you can see, we're making our way around the world, and we are now going to head. We've been in Africa, now we're going to Malaysia, and now we're going to head back to Europe and talk about a little bit of off-season travel and festival ideas with Kathy Wood of European Experiences.
Hi, everybody, and I'm glad to be with you today. And I'm going to be focusing on a celebration that is better known, which is Christmas. And that may be a favorite of many of yours. Now, I'm not going to be talking from the slides. We're going to show some beautiful photos, and I'll just tell you a little bit about how I have experienced Christmas festivities and celebrations in Europe. I do believe that spending time in another country during their holiday season is really a great way to understand the culture. And I also am a really big proponent of slow travel, which means to me staying longer and really immersing yourself in the culture, not racing through to a different place every day, but really taking time to get to know local people and enjoy the celebrations. So over the past 25 years, I've been in Europe more than 15 times during the Christmas season. I realized I haven't really been here in the United States very often for Christmas lately. And many times I've been in Europe over Christmas itself. A lot of my Christmas travel is focused on Austria and Germany, and also the region of Alsace, which is in northeastern France and was once, for many years, a part of Germany. And I also have spent time at Christmas in Provence in the south of France, where our family has a second home. Sometimes I've been with my husband and daughter, sometimes just my husband, and then we also do have small group tours in the Christmas season. I really love Europe at any time of the year, which is good since my company is European Experiences, but I do especially love it at Christmas. And I think the Christmas traditions in Germany, Austria, and Alsace are especially strong. That's what I'm going to focus on. That's what these pictures are showing. And many of our treasured Christmas traditions came from these areas hundreds of years ago. And it relates also to the strong Christian heritage in these areas, Catholic and Protestant. Many of you have probably heard of the Christmas markets. There's a lot of interest. As you see in the photo here, this is in Strasbourg. There's a lot of interest in Christmas markets, and now there's Christmas markets all over the world. But I think the markets in Germany, Austria, Alsace, and these Alpine countries are really quite different, and they are very cultural. There are actually hundreds of Christmas markets in Europe. You'll find them in small villages and even in neighborhoods, but in the cities and the bigger towns where the most famous markets are held, some of the markets, like you see here, have hundreds of stands, literally. Strasbourg in Alsace calls itself the Christmas capital of Europe. And their Christmas market is supposedly the oldest in all of Europe. It dates back to 1570, and it is truly spectacular. Here are some of the decorations in Strasbourg. There are spectacular decorations on all of the shops and the buildings. And there's lights. If you stay after dark, the lights are incredible. I think I've got some photos of that too. There are 11 different markets in different parts of Strasbourg's historic city center. This is the largest. This is a different one than the other picture showed. On the other hand, a village Christmas market might just be one day or 1 or 2 weekends. These big markets, like in Strasbourg, operate all day, every day from late November until Christmas Eve, sometimes even beyond, really during the Advent season. You might not be aware there are specialty markets that focus just on one thing. One of the markets in Strasbourg is just on food. Or in Salzburg, which is another city where I love the markets, one of their Christmas markets, everything is locally made. You can also find a market in nearby Colmar in Alsace that's all local handcrafts. You can find a market that sells only nativity figurines and nativity scenes. And some markets have special areas just for children, or booths that are run by charitable groups. And we've even enjoyed some medieval markets in Munich, and then in the beautiful town of Ribeauvillé in Alsace, where everybody is dressed in medieval clothes. The food is different. What they're selling is different. There's jousting. It's quite incredible. But regardless, all the markets are colorful. They're festive. They have booths that have gifts and decorations, all kinds of food you could take away and give as gifts, or you can eat it right there. And some of the most popular booths sell hot mulled wine, which is called Glühwein in German, or vin chaud in French. And those are big social gathering spots. Now, I have so many Christmas decorations. I have way too many. I don't know about you, but I don't buy much anymore, but I still love looking. I love to take photos. I like the festive atmosphere, and I do enjoy the Glühwein, I'll say. But just a heads up, kind of a reality check, is the market can be crowded, and especially on weekends. I would never recommend going to Strasbourg on a weekend. I actually found the medieval festival in Ribeauvillé way too crowded. So you have to really be careful, and if you don't like crowds, I think to kind of manage what you do there. Also, it's winter, so it's cold, and if you're not prepared, on the other hand, most of the markets do have stands where you could buy a hat or scarf or gloves or warm socks. In Munich in 2023, the day after we arrived, there was 20 inches of snow. It was the most snow they had ever had in 25 years. And what was amazing, even though the airport was closed, the train station was closed, the Christmas market went on. It opened up a little bit late, but the Christmas market went on. Unless you're a real power shopper, most of us can't do Christmas markets all day, every day. And you will find that many markets are similar, and they may even sell the same things, possibly even made in some remote country where things are made very cheaply. So you can't do the markets all day, every day. And Christmas in Europe is much more than markets. And I really would encourage you to plan other things to do. This picture, this is the lovely town of Colmar in Alsace, and this is what you see in Alsace. So some of the cities or towns have light festivals. For example, Lyon, France, which is one of the largest cities in France. They have an incredible 4-day Festival of Lights every year in early December. Crowded, but truly, truly spectacular. There may be special church services or musical events or other kind of entertainments or different sorts of parades. I know of 2 villages, small villages in France, different parts of France, that have what's called a creche festival. And so in these villages, they have encouraged businesses, families, to set up nativity scenes. There could be 50 nativity scenes all around the town. And so you visit the town looking at these very creative nativity scenes. Some are traditional and some are totally non-traditional. There's really a whole calendar of Christmas activities to take advantage of. And if you do a little bit of digging, you can find out what those are. I really, for me, I love the ambiance of the Christmas season in Europe. I love the backdrop of beautiful old buildings like this, colorful, sometimes half timbered, the creative decorations, the festive restaurants that have wonderful food. I think Dawn talked about the food and how much that represents the culture. I love the smell of the glühwein and the roasting chestnuts, the ringing of church bells. One year, our family was in Salzburg over Christmas, and at midnight, there's, I think, something like 25 or 30 churches in Salzburg. And at midnight, the bells rang out everywhere. We flung open the windows, and they rang for 15 minutes. It was just incredible. And then there's the familiar Christmas carols and songs, all too often American songs, but also lovely carols like Silent Night. And then there's the possibility of snow. Hopefully not 20 inches, but there is the possibility of snow. Many women really enjoy traveling during the Christmas season. I think it's a great gift to give to yourself. And you can enjoy a Christmas trip in Europe as a solo traveler, with a friend or family member, or with a small group. It's a wonderful time of year. Carolyn mentioned the off-season, and it's a real opportunity to immerse yourself in the culture and to experience a different kind of Christmas. I know in Provence, I always feel the Christmas is simpler, it's less commercial, and you really can return home feeling the spirit of Christmas. So here we are in end of January thinking about Christmas already. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I hope we're inspiring you all with some new ideas. We'd love to hear some feedback from you. We're going to do breakout rooms in just a moment. I just want to share some of my crazy festivals because I tend to fall into things without realizing that they're happening. And this photo is a picture in Key West, Florida, of the zombie bike parade that I heard about one day. And the next thing I knew, I was getting my face painted and on a bike and riding around at the zombie bike parade, which is a community event that happens every year in October in Key West. And I've done it 5 times now, actually. It's one of my favorite holidays, well, holiday celebrations, community celebrations. Another one that I again fell into was Three Kings Day in Spain. If you haven't been to Spain around the holidays, that's when I think I've been going to Spain for about 10 years pretty consistently. And the first time I even knew there was such a thing as Three Kings Day, I practically walked into the parade itself, not even knowing what was going on. This is actually a small town called Nerja, which is right outside Malaga. This is 2 years ago, I think, or maybe 3. And they had their own Three Kings Day celebration with all the local people. And again, it was just a wonderful way to meet people and be involved in the community here. And I actually stayed in a little town next to Nerja that was even smaller, and they had a Three Kings Day parade on it with a trailer being pulled by a tractor. So it's just fascinating to see how all these small communities embrace some of the same traditions. Last April, I had long wanted to go to Spain for Easter. And so I had the chance to do that, not only in Seville, but also in Barcelona. And what happened last year in Seville, well, I'll talk about Barcelona first. Barcelona was amazing. It is crowded, it is busy. This is a busy, busy time of year in Spain. But I ended up on the steps of the Barcelona Cathedral, not realizing that the entire event was happening right behind me on the steps. And so I was almost face to face with everyone who came out of the church. And the whole ceremony happened literally 5 feet from me. And I wrote about it on our website if you'd like to read more. It was just fascinating. And similarly with Seville, when I arrived in Seville, I thought I had missed Semana Santa. And because there had been torrential rain the day before, they had delayed everything. So I actually got to experience it, not only in Barcelona, but in Seville, walking right out into a procession with the thrones coming through the streets, and which are organized by the brotherhoods in each of the districts around the city. And then these incredible parades that went on for hours through Seville. So it was one of the most fantastic things I've ever seen. And lastly, this is real community. So this is a little town called La Paz, Mexico, where I spent the holidays this year. And they have a Malecon that stretches along the ocean. And their whole community festival is around their cars. So their cars are decorated for every single occasion throughout the year. And in this particular occasion, there were 180 cars, not only cars, but anything on wheels that were decorated with lights and costumes. And the whole community came out onto the Malecon, and we all celebrated together. And you could see the Grinch and all the kids taking pictures and everybody high-fiving on the streets. It was just a really lovely experience for me. So these are the kinds of festivals I enjoy when I don't actually know they're happening, but when you stay in a place for a little bit longer, you tend to kind of fall into these amazing festivals and learn a lot about the community, and which was the case with all of these. Want to end really quickly with a what's next. So we have in about 2 weeks, we have a webinar on how to save money on travel with Skyscanner. And we have a book club that is going to England with After Story. And then we have our next cultural immersion session on culinary travel. So that'll be all about food. And again, we have some great speakers coming to that. So thank you all for coming tonight and spending a little time with us. We hope we inspired you with some new ideas and gave you some more to think about. And look for an email. We're going to send an email out with more ideas and more articles from our website, just to get you thinking about how you can really connect with communities when you travel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carolyn, for putting this together. This was really cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My pleasure, as always.
All right. Happy New Year. Is Anne still on?
Yeah, I'm still on.
yes.
Thank
Happy
you
New
very
Happy New
much.
Year.
We usually call it Onga. What? That means prosperity.
Say that again.
Everyone has prosperity. Onga. What? That means we wish everybody has a prosperity in the coming new year.
Very good. Thank you. Same to
Thank
you.
you.
Ciao.
All right.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.